West, welcome to Faith Off the Record. I'm so glad you're on this channel and this podcast today. I'm so blessed. You've been causing tremendous noise in the social media scene and also just getting to know you as a genuinely, a great brother in the faith. So again, I welcome you to the show. I'd love to just go straight into it and just, talk about yourself and your journey and sort of your faith in action. So go ahead and just tell me sort of, who are you in terms of how would you describe yourself and what's your upbringing like in terms of as a person?
Cool. Thanks for having me, firstly. Pleasure to be here. And yeah, to start from scratch, I think the easiest way, I didn't grow up in a Christian household. My dad's Jamaican, my mom's from the UK. So if you're from South London, it's a classic mix. And yeah, I got christened. We might, for a school play, go to the local church. But, my family had faith, but they were never really practicing it effectively. So, I've moved around a lot. I used to play football. My family were, especially with my parents' breakup, it was a bit all over the place with my childhood. And then with that, it kind of led me to live sort of the similar life into my adult years. I was constantly moving. So for the last 5 years, I've been pretty much living abroad. A couple months back and forth between UK, whether that was in the States, in Bali, in Dubai. And yeah, when I look back now, it was like a constant theme of just running. And if you asked me at the time, I'm like, no, there's, a job opportunity in Dubai, or I was working in the music industry, so it's, leading me to the States. But there was always like something clearly missing. And that, through trial and error led me to sort of where I am now. And that's having a relationship with Jesus and really kind of being more vulnerable in my faith. So, there's a lot I just said, but yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, it has. And let's go into it then. So how did you come to the faith? What's been the eye-opener for you?
So I was actually, like I said, living in Indonesia, in Bali. And one of my friends who I used to run these private parties during lockdown. So when everyone was not allowed to party, me and my friends were, up to no good. And one of the guys, he used to work for us, and I randomly bumped into in Bali. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, anyway, we was playing football. That's how we met. And then one day he just randomly invited me to church. And I've never been invited to church, like in recent years, ever. So I was like, why not? And he's like, yeah, come through. It's proper chill. So there was 20 people in a hotel conference room in Bali. And there was sausage rolls and spring rolls after. And I was like, free food, even better. So went, proper chill vibe, not what I expected. The pastor was from New York, super passionate, super on fire. But it was more just a good environment. I felt like the saying, you can belong before you believe. I was there. I was just there, in the sort of environment, but never really understanding anything more than that. The songs were cool, the worship was cool, but as soon as I left that building, back to normal life. And then, so I was probably going there for a good year. But then one day, so back in November, the 13th of November, 2024, so 9 months ago, I was just sitting in bed, or I was laying in bed. I was about to go to sleep, and this has been off the back of, just worldly living, partying, drinking, and it's never really been me. I've always been into my fitness, having mental clarity, and I just found myself getting sucked back into everything I kind of ran away from. And one of my friends who I was working with when we was in the States, he moved to Bali as well. And naturally, your environment, the people you hold your company with, they can suck you back into that life. And I found myself just sort of reliving everything I tried to escape. And on that night, I remember I was just I need to make a change. This ain't it. So I went to sleep, which I thought I went to sleep, but my eyes were wide open, but I just couldn't move. And I've heard a lot about people having sleep paralysis. I've never had it in my life, ever. And I remember I was watching a YouTube video, and I was laying on my side. I can remember seeing the air conditioning unit with 23 degrees. It was the temperature was set, and I just couldn't move. And I was like, this is horrible. This is one of the worst feelings I've ever felt. And behind me, I heard this, and again, I was completely sober. There was nothing going. I was just going to bed. I heard this whooshing, groaning sound. And I've been through a lot in my life, from when I was younger, in trouble with the police to et cetera, et cetera. This was the scariest moment of my life ever, because I've never felt more afraid. Like, I was genuinely afraid. And still to this day, I don't exactly know why it was. And I wanted to turn around, but I just couldn't. And then after like a couple minutes, when I got like, my friend said, I remember he used to get sleep paralysis, like wiggle your fingers and you'll be able to like start to get control again. So I started wiggling my fingers, and then I felt my consciousness just come back into my body. I turned around, there was just nothing there. And I was like, I've still got my journal. I remember that day, I was like, I need to make a change, because I still don't know what it was, but I felt like that was a big sign that I'm slipping back into the darkness, which I've worked so hard to try and get out of. And that's really when my journey started. That's when the worldly things, partying, drinking, I said, like, I'm not doing that anymore. That's like step one. And then it wasn't really until I moved back to the UK. So I still going to this church, the original one with 20 people, and that's grew to maybe 300-400 people now. It's massive. And I was just there. Again, nothing really impacted me. Even when that experience happened, it was more when I was doing my own readings of the Bible, where I was actually gaining like more of my convictions and my knowledge. So I came back to the UK, and then the series of me trying to find a new church was just me genuinely trying to find a new home.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it. Like, I was making content before this, and I did not expect that to be the moment where it actually like started to gain traction online. But that's where my journey originally started on the 13th of November, but it got kicked into overdrive where I came back to the UK and experienced sort of, I don't know, church properly.
Yeah. Did you ever get exposed to Christianity when you was young? Did you ever have an encounter where you were sort of traditionally going to church, forced to church, or what was that? Tell me about your sort of the upbringing and the family element with, you know, yourself and sort of the journey. Like, how much exposure was there before really then taking it serious?
I'd say not really. Like, my family would be like, they're very just, I don't know how to put this nice. Like, they wouldn't really practice anything. They had no real belief system. You know, that good is good, bad is bad, but they never heard about Jesus. You know, they'd still not want you to swear. They still want you to be brought up in a certain way. And I was christened as a kid, but that's as far as it went. But I did have friends who used to hang around with who, when we were up to no good, like, a big situation was I got in trouble and I ended up getting arrested, got granted bail. I was on house arrest for 9 months, had to go to Crown Court for a big trial. And to the glory of God, like, I didn't get put in prison, but my friend got put in for 2.5 years. And in all fairness, I was completely wrong place, wrong time. It couldn't have been more one of those situations where it's like, how have I ended up here? But I remember that day I prayed. And in essence, like, I'd always pray. It's weird, like, I'd always have like a prayer. Even when I was a little kid, I still remember I used to always pray like to like hope my parents never, you know, get ill or anything. It was always like, that was my biggest fear. So obviously the older I got, my prayers would change. And I remember praying like, please God, like, save me from this situation. And I would say, like, I don't know how, but that situation, I completely just
How bad was it?
Well, yeah, like, at first they were like 15 years you were looking at in prison. I remember because the whole trial and the case, it was pretty bad. And someone ended up getting really badly hurt. But with that, it was like I felt myself that I was getting hard done by. So I was like, please God, just help me out of this situation. Like, you know, I'm a good, you know, I am the victim here, kind of thing. And again, his mercy prevailed, but I put it all to myself. I was like, I'm so clever. Like, of course, like I had to get away with it. Like, I'm just such a good person. I never gave glory to him. And this was back in like 2018. So there's been like little spurts of like times, but I think I was too ignorant and naive to the fact that it was his mercy, not my own glory. And yeah, that's like previous to that moment, sort of the biggest situations or moments I've had. But yeah, I never really understood it until now, that I didn't give him any glory, and I had to keep learning the same lesson until I did.
Did you think that, looking back now, God's always had his hand on you?
Without a shadow of a doubt. There's so many instances where, again, I think because of ego, you give yourself too much credit. And you know, we are like I say, we're like sheep. We have no teeth, we have no claws. We're very weak, and the only like protection we have is the shepherd or the flock. Now, I didn't have a flock because I was part of no fellowship. You know, my friends were not believers; they were of the world, and you know, I had a very, I don't know, a little thread of a relationship with God through me randomly praying at night. But then the more I realize is the more, you know, I can't take credit for any of this.
So when you've gone through the process now, and I'm really hitting come back to the audible voice you had in that hotel room, is it? Or was it that room?
In the villa in Bali, yeah.
A lot of people will think just my mind or etc. You know, that's been playing on me. How real was that for you as a shake-up? And, you know, knowing between, you've got some Christianity now inside of that process, distinguishing between that's the devil's voice or someone there that, you know, just tell me sort of how that voice really thought, you know what, this is absolutely, I got to get out of this, and I'm going to dedicate my life.
It's a good question. I think the only way I could probably like describe it, I don't know if you ever watched like Lord of the Rings, and they have like the dark beings. you know the ones riding on the horses, and they have like a screech and it's like a really whooshing, like it was like that dark voice of like a groan, and that's the only thing I could like. Or even Harry Potter with the Death Eaters, that kind of vibe, that was the sound I heard, and it was so vivid. And again, I was so aware of everything. It wasn't a situation of like, oh, my mind's playing tricks. Like it was, I know exactly where it was in the room.
Wow.
I know what I was watching. A YouTube video was still playing from the point I left it. So it was, it couldn't have been more vivid. And I think some people might need, you know, an arm around the shoulder. Some people might need a slap. I'm probably the type of person who needs a slap to get a wake up call. And, you know, I spoke to other people about it. It's like maybe the one time God just, you know, took his hand away from you or removed that protective armor he's had on you, and you saw what he really was protecting you from. And it's like, you need to make a choice. There needs to be a decision, because otherwise this unfulfillment you feel is just going to carry on.
Yeah. It reminds me of that scripture, which is, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual powers in high places. And for someone who's saying the devil don't exist or spirituality doesn't exist, what's your response to that?
It's funny because, say when people say like, how is God real? But then they'll believe in like energies or negative energies. And it's like, even the devil believes in God. So like, if you are so naive to the fact that you don't think God is real, the devil is also as real. You know, it speaks about it in the Bible. If you, whether you're Christian or non-Christian, the feelings you feel sometimes, which you can't describe, or that heaviness you can feel, and nothing might be going on, but there's a certain cloud over you. There's so many ways people have described it. Now, obviously, I understand it's like spiritual warfare. But before, you'd be like, I feel a bit down or jaded, or it's like a dark cloud over me or over that person. Like, why is that? Whether you're into frequencies, energy, there's clearly a negative force. Like, I'm a big believer in entropy. So like, without bad, there's no good. Like, there's always going to be an opposite, a trade-off. You know, you can't have everything. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So if you want all the good but no bad, then nothing's necessarily good. If you want, and it's the same, if you're a big believer that there's no negative energy, you're going to get a wake-up call sooner or later. And I got mine, so.
Wow. So talk me through then, you've got this wake-up call, you know, you're coming back now to London, right? What's Wes doing from that point onwards? Are you working? Are you sort of, you know, full-time still in the trying to make it as an influencer? So
sure.
What's that like?
So I was working in the music industry for like last 5 years. And with the music industry, you know, a lot what's documented about it is pretty true. It's very dark. It's very taxing mentally, physically, spiritually. And I felt myself, you know, I always describe it. There was a moment in time. So we were about to go on tour to Nigeria or Africa and then so on. And I remember I had to make a decision whether I was going to go or not. And I was with a partner at the time. And it was a basis of like my old life of, well, not maybe my old life, but a life of comfortability, happiness, love, or chasing my dreams, right? Or what I thought my dreams were. Success, money, clout. And I remember I made the decision to go. And I remember that moment I was on the phone. I was like, I need to make a decision. And I said, I'm going to do it because this is my dream. This is my purpose. And off the back of traveling the world, you know, gaining all the effectively fame and clout and money I wanted, I've never felt more unfulfilled. So that's why I went to Bali originally, because I needed a break. I was in Japan. I flew back from Japan, stopped off in Bali, and I was like, oh, this is mad chill. This is completely the opposite of what I've been living. You know, everything's just island vibes. So I was like, I'll just stay here for a little longer, a little holiday, and then a couple of weeks turned into a year and a half. But with that, I really sort of understood that music wasn't my purpose. Like, I did it because of friends and what I perceived to be success, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I was like, you know, maybe content. Like, I like boxing. I went to Bali as well to like get back in shape, box again. So I was like, I should just go down the influencer boxing path. How hard can it be? I'm in Bali. Like, I'm easily going to become famous like that. Like, the naivety of it. And then, yeah, I made videos, absolutely no traction, nothing. It was all right, like, but I had I didn't even know what I was making. Yeah. But I still had a few fingers in pies when it came to the music side, but I was really kind of like weaning off it.
Sure.
But when I landed back in London, I probably was like way more charged on the social media side. I saw little bits of success, little bits of, you know, there's actually money in this. There's like, you can viably like live off this, because I was doing a lot of running content and fitness content. But then I was just like I had been for the last few months documenting what I got up to, and it led me to document me going to church. And then, yeah, it was just, when I say God can use the most unlikely people, that is like a testimony of it.
So you're well known in the Christian digital space, I'd say, and you've created a following, which is fantastic, and you've really shown from a different perspective of the variations of church, okay? And you've started to document sort of the churches, because you were seeking a church, right? Talk to us about sort of, was that genuinely, that was what you was looking for, or was it for content really, and there was a bit of in behind it? So how much was that of a balance of, I want to genuinely look for a church, I want to document this because this is what I'm doing as well? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the original video I've ever done was actually one of me going to a church in Bali. And it was just, again, part of my day in a life kind of content. It's like, hey guys, come with me to a Bali church in a nightclub. I think that was like hook. And it's obviously like, whoa, that's crazy. And then I went to Thailand. I was like, hey, I'm like going to this restaurant this hour, and I'm also going to this church. It was just, again, part of the day in the life sort of series. And then I went to Dubai, part of the day in life series. So it was never like a thing which was consciously like, I need to go to church. It was just, again, part of my travel diary. There would be a day I went to church, I just documented that. And they always used to do way better than all my other videos, but I still had no idea why. I was just like, oh, maybe the editing was just perfect on that. Then when I came back to the UK, I realized the power of social media, because most of the time when I try to find a recommendation, I'd probably go to TikTok. And I just said, oh, someone's going to tell me a church. I'm going to just make a video. I remember I made a 5-second video like, hey guys, trying to find a new church, like, let me know. And I don't know, maybe got like 1,000 comments in the first day, and just people dropping away. And I was like, where is this? What, like, this was not my scope of like, even my timeline, like, or my For You page. It wasn't this kind of content. So I was like, okay, let me go try out a church. So the first one I tried out was Hillsong in Tottenham Court Road. Again, part of like me, a lot of my series was like adjusting back to life in the UK, finding a gym, finding, you know, a house even, and also finding a church. So I guess it's easier to see the church videos as like, oh, that was like your style of content. If you look back, no, they were just in the mix of everything. They just ended up doing well. So I guess because more people saw them, they just assumed that was like the content strategy. But no, they just were the ones which were outliers. And then I felt impelled, or impelled is the right word. I felt compelled, to go to these recommendations. But then in the midst of that, from the amount of people who hit me up like, oh my God, I've always wanted to go to Hillsong as an example. But I just never felt comfortable because I didn't know how the etiquette was. But after seeing that video, I'm going to try it out. And I was like, oh, cool. And then obviously with the more church I went to, the more I kind of saw that pattern where there's so many people who were probably similar to me a year and a half ago before my friend invited me to go to church. And I was like, oh, at least I've got someone to like show me how to, act. Do I sit, stand? Am I allowed on my phone? Am I allowed to sing? Like, what happens? I guess seeing a very normal looking person, I'm not wearing white robes and candles. It's like, oh, he kind of looks like us or my friend. And he says he seems pretty chill. It looks pretty chill. And I think the smoke and mirrors and like the mystery behind what goes on in churches kind of got the veil, or unveiled, should I say. So, in general, it was genuinely for me to find the church, and then I found the church. But from that, I did feel like there was sort of a calling to also help other people because I don't really have like the social anxieties or like the fear of going into new places. I think it's from playing football. Like when you join a new team, you're around like 20 other guys and it's like pressure's on kind of thing. So you're used to being in different environments, whereas a lot of people probably find them situations uncomfortable, especially going to a church. So I just felt like if I can use my lack of awkwardness, I don't know what it would be, then so be it.
How many churches did it for you to get through to get to the one for you?
Maybe like 7, 6 maybe.
Yeah.
Until I found the one, and then from there, like the pastor of Imprint invited me over. Wow, like, super cool guy, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. Like, I'll go check out your church. So there was little ones where after I went to the church I go to now, even how we met as well. I'm like, if I got the time, I'd love to like be. It's more like if I get invited down and like, I know someone, but it took me about 6, and I had a mixture of church that I went to, so I kind of got to see how they all kind of fit in.
What's been the themes that you've come out from visiting these churches? What's the commonality? What's been sort of, if you was to kind of look back on the churches you've visited, are there some sort of themes that you've seen, like patterns, or even also any improvements that you think, which is, you know what, I've noticed this in church and it's been a common pattern here and things can be done better? Because it's all about also we can learn from things like this.
I think the transparency, the churches I like the most, it felt like they're the most transparent. And funny enough, the church I went to, which you happily invited me to, I loved it so much because of the transparency they showed with, I just obviously went to the day where they was telling how all the money was spent. And I've never seen that before. And I'm like, that's such a breath of fresh air. Not that my opinion effectively matters in the grand scheme of things. I'm still very early on my journey, but someone like myself who is new to church, and you hear all these stories, and majority of the time it's like negative press, it's refreshing to see, like it isn't some, dodgy stuff going on, because I've seen so much news about it. And again, I always stress people, I'm very new to this, so I'm just in real time letting you guys follow my journey. By no means I have all the answers. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. But I think from that, it's a big sort of doorway into how a lot of other young people are trying to find faith. They just might have certain barriers, which if you grew up in your whole life in church, you wouldn't have. And, I've seen so many similarities in a lot of church. It needs to be led by the word. I think that's the most important thing. When you have a pastor who just relates everything back to scripture, and not only do they talk the talk, but they also walk the walk. And it's very hard to get that from one service. Yeah. But I think with your own discernment and sort of looking into their character, it's very, again, you only get an hour or so, but, with certain pastors I went to lunch with and stuff, I'm like, oh, you genuinely care. Not just about you having the title next to your name and being in the pulpit and everyone like praising you. It's like, it's not about you. And I think that's important, because the element of church I've seen before can turn into like celebrity culture, where you're not praying to God, you're praying to your pastor.
Have you seen that?
I've seen it.
Really? Can you talk about that?
Well, I'm sure others have seen it. There's certain churches which have got looked into by the financial regulation, by the police for fraudulent activities, but there's churches out there which have been in a lot of trouble because of the secrecy around them being a charity. And when you see that from the outside as a non-Christian, you're like, red flag. Christianity is just full of this, but they're very rare. They're more of the anomalies compared to, so many good churches I've been to.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, right? So from my perspective, when someone like yourself going to churches and documenting, as you're coming to these churches, just to be an open-minded in terms of as an unbeliever, someone who's not adverse to church, doesn't know anything about Christianity, what would you suggest, just based on what your experience has been, that coming in, new fresh face, unbeliever, from a church perspective, are we on the right track? Are we doing the right things? Welcoming people? Is there a way we can, do we have to change an approach that's now in a digital age or this new Gen Z millennial age? What's your take on that?
That's a really good question, because it kind of relates back to the first question regarding what they could do better. And all the good churches which I've been to are the ones which feel very chilled, no pressure. Because I have no problem telling someone no. Like, I actually did a video about my first ever experience in a church where they tried to baptize me within 5 seconds of me being in the building.
Wow.
Yeah, like we could talk about it. That was insane. But for most people going in and you're asking for their WhatsApp details, their number, oh, you ready to serve? Do you want to do car park duty? It's like, I don't even know what's going on, like, for you to be this intense. And all the churches which I recommend people to try are ones where you go in, whether you're new, whether you've been there years, they treat you with the same kindness, respect. They're not trying to get your details to bring you in, because I think if you can be convinced to follow faith, you can also be convinced out of it.
Yeah.
You have to come on your own accord, right? And yeah, with any church I've been to which doesn't allow someone just to be there and they could sit right at the back and just have their own experience, which is comfortable to them.
Yeah.
They're the most important ones. When they tell you, oh, go sit at the front or go give me your number, it's like, yeah, I don't really like that. Just because it's like, I'm new here, I feel uncomfortable already.
Yeah.
This could make it even worse.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the faith, and this show is really all about uncovering your faith from a limelight that's really off the pulpit, getting to know you and your faiths. So since the journey now of coming to find the church, and I'm so glad you found that church that works for you, how has your faith been now in sort of a pedestal? Has it really sharpened your faith? Did you have to take a step back in your faith to really think about your faith? Tell me about sort of where are you in your faith right now, and even as part of the journey with the documenting and the social media that you're involved with.
With my journey, I think it's tough to be completely vulnerable on social media and let everyone know the ins and outs. But I think that's the most important thing, to keep it real. And I said before, like, I'm very new on my journey. I'm still trying to figure it out. But with the essence of social media and the eyes now on creators, and let's say me as an example, you do feel more convicted to walk the walk, not just try and find it. Because finding the church is, anyone can. You got people who do all sorts who go to church. It doesn't mean you're now saved because you go to church. There's so much more to it. And I think with this journey, I've been tested in so many ways, whether that's, like, I did a video about me going on Love Island and I was supposed to be on the show, but I had to say no on pretty much on the final day, because how contradictory is that for a person who's trying to find faith, who's a Christian, but now you're going to go into a place full of lust. And I think it's just sort of brought me closer to my convictions that certain things you can no longer do. Not because, I'm going to judge someone else for doing them, or it's more, it doesn't align with the message or the journey I'm trying to walk. In some ways I say I'm thankful that I lived the life I did before, because not only do I experience it and I can say it doesn't bring fulfillment, but also I can approach this in a sense of, this was my decision. I didn't have no one forcing me. It wasn't like my parents or family or a partner was like, you need to do this. It was just by myself. In the, say, darkest of times is when I was able to find hope through Jesus. And with my journey, I always say, becoming a Christian, your life doesn't get easier. It gets harder. My life got way harder when I'm like, I'm doing this. Whether that's from the certain things I no longer can involve myself in, or the way I have to always try and act with grace. And now, to make it even harder, I'm documenting it. It was in James, it's like, if you're a teacher, you're held to a higher standard. And I keep saying, I'm not a teacher, guys. But I understand that if you're also evangelizing people, whether that's digitally or in person, you still have a sense of responsibility and care that you, not just for people, but even for God. You can't go and now sort of disrespect all the work he's put into you by flipping a script and, I know this is going to do well for socials, but I also want to live in the world. Yeah. And it's very hard. It's very, very hard. And I think I will be as open as possible when I'm struggling with certain things. And a lot of my problems is leaning on my own understanding way too much. And it's not as obvious as a sin as, say, adultery or, drunkenness. Yeah. But pride, for me, is one I've had to really shake out, because social media is such a toxic environment, because you're always comparing yourself. You're always wanting to do more and, how far can I push the envelope for, engagement? And sometimes I have to take a step back and is this glorifying God? Yeah. And with that journey, there's been many revelations I've had that, I can no longer do X or hang around with Y.
Yeah, it's so good. And I really appreciate the transparency, honestly. That's just being raw there. And I think we see social media all the time. We only see the 60-second clip and, the minute clip long on these platforms. But you've touched on a subject which I was going to lean towards, about what are the challenges and the difficulties with not compromising the faith with the opportunities that come with social media and being an influencer. Can you talk about sort of an example? How's your faith really kept you grounded and not compromise your faith, which God's really using you in those circumstances?
I guess the best way I can answer that is the Love Island situation. I was promised, in essence, everything I wanted. My original goal with social media was to go into influencer boxing. Yeah. That was like a fast track way there. Followers, clout, you're kind of guaranteed it to an extent, In my head, it's like, of course it's going to be a success. So with that, then also having that thought that something ain't right. And it gave me the most anxiety, the most stress I've had in years, having to make a decision whether I should do this. And then looking back in hindsight, as soon as I made a decision, it was like a weight got lifted off my back. But until you make that decision, you're again trying to live a worldly life, but now also saying you love Jesus. You kind of need to pick a side. He says like, it's either you're with me or against me. Yeah. And the difficulties you find with being so, I guess, accessible as well, that people, I've had experiences where sometimes I'm human as well. I'm just not in the mood. But you also are seen as a person who's, trying to do good, and you have to, in essence, show grace in every situation. Yeah. And the funniest situation, one time I was in Nando's after a service, and a lady sat down and I was eating my dinner, and she's like, "Oh, I follow you." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And she just sat down. We were chatting for 20 minutes, and I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, I was a bit already, and then 5 minutes later, another girl came and said, "I follow you," and sat down. And I was just like, old me would have been like, "Do you not mind?" Yeah. But I'm like, they're obviously on fire for God, and they want to speak about my journey and they're interested. And I'm like, this is another way for me to, if this is really what you want to do, you have to get used to this. You have to showing grace may sound simple, but it's one of the hardest things, because everyone can show grace when you feel like it, but on days when you don't feel like it.
Spot on.
And that for me, again, mixed in with, the stresses of being a young man in this era of trying to make it and, provide for your family, which is yet to come, and all these pressures you see online. But then also to be like, is this glorifying God? Am I seeking the kingdom first? That is the question you have to ask. Yeah. And if you have to bend it a bit, or it doesn't say, it's not an absolute yes, it's a no. And with that kind of discernment process, it has made my life easier, because I can just say, is this glorifying God? Am I trying to seek the kingdom by going through this opportunity? No. Or, if it's an if, or I have to do X, or Y has to happen, keep it moving.
And that's where, you come to a good point there, which is, how does West distinguish between this is Lord-led versus flesh-led?
Shout out Wale, pastor of Imprint. He gave me this great discernment process. He said there's like levels to it. The one I used to use is, God, if it's for me, then, it will happen. If it's not, take it away. But then there's a second sort of process. It's like a bit deeper. And he said, when Jesus was in the wilderness and he was tempted by the devil, there was 3 things he was effectively promised. The devil said, turn these rocks into bread. show us your power, show us how great you are, show us you can do all these amazing things. He said, I'll give you dominion over all the lands. So it's, again, control, fame. And also, he said, jump off the building and let the angels catch you so everyone can see how great you are. So again, it's sort of living into that you're above everyone else kind of ideology. And he said, if you have an opportunity and, you know, God is not at the center and you feel like, you know, you're being promised money, fame, glory, it's all on you, you're glorifying yourself, you're not glorifying God, it's probably not an opportunity which is God-led. It's probably the opposite. And I think for most young men, the easiest way to get them is through money and lust. And I've seen it. We've seen it. The amount of stories we hear, whether that's Solomon, the most wisest people in the Bible, still fell to it. David even. And I am nowhere near on that level of wisdom. How can I be naive to the fact that I can also be victim of this if I surround myself in those situations? So I always say to anyone who's struggling, as I have before, is if it's not with God at the center and you can't justify, if you had to go and speak to God now and say, the reason why I did that is I'm glorifying you. And he's like, no, it's not. And you're like, yeah, you're right. It wasn't. It was just because I wanted a bit of ego, a bit of pride was in the way. Then you have to flee from sin and run away from anything that can bring you into that.
What do you say to someone who wants to become an influencer, similar to have those aspirations like you have, and also is tugging between a voice behind their ear and offering the world, but come from similar background to yourself, which is there's a better purpose here, there's a bigger calling here, and I feel like, you know, I want to explore Christianity. What do you say to someone who's in that sort of division and that crossroad?
I am an example that God can use the most unlikely of people. My goal was never to do this. And it was just one step at a time, which led me here. So it's very hard for me to say because I don't have a plan book. I don't have a blueprint of how this happened. It was very much just by the grace of God. And I found myself here. And I never asked for this effectively, but I felt like there was a voice that said, you have a duty now. You know, you wanted this. It might just not be on your terms, unfortunately. And I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Because the freedom you get from influencing is great. The people you get to meet is amazing. But I wouldn't necessarily say that, it's for everyone. It is effectively for anyone has the opportunity to share their story, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it. I think whatever you feel compelled to do it. For me, I feel like if I can reach people through making videos, perfect. For you, it might be on the street preaching. For others, it might be, you know, becoming a scholar and really understanding the word. Like, there's so many avenues you can go down. I know it's easy to compare yourself to people online, but a lot of the time I can't give you an answer. I don't really know how I ended up here. It was just, don't get me wrong, a lot of it's God, but you also have to meet him there. You have to put in the work to, you know, it may seem all glitz and glam, but like you said, you only see a 60-second snippet. Behind the scenes, it's many days of, you know, you're doubting yourself. Is this working? And until it works and everyone's like, oh, you know, look how great it is. It's like, there's many days where just no one's interacting with your things. And with any job, there's always pros and cons. But for anyone who's looking to get into this, just, again, it's God at the center of it. And if the answer is no, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, sooner or later you'll find a reason to convince yourself not to do it anymore, and you'll go and do something else.
So good. What's a day like with you in terms of your typical day?
Jamie, I have no structure. I'm really trying to work on my structure. But in an average
I can imagine
day,
it's just all over everywhere.
Just some random thing will pop up, and I say yes to a lot of things because obviously within reason. Like, for example, I'm going to a run club later, and it's like, in an ideal day, I wake up, pray, journal, I meditate on the word. I used to actually meditate with like an app. And then the more I've learned about it, it's like, no, you don't want to clear your mind. You know, rest on a verse. Is there something on your mind? Like, you know, meditate on that. So that's like my morning routine. And then from there, ideally I'd go to the gym. Sometimes I don't go as early as I want to. I get random moments of creativity or like energy to do certain things. So, you know, I might wake up, like pray, and then start editing. Or record a video because I'm like, oh, I got an idea, I just want to do it now. Other days, I'm just sitting there, just staring at the wall like, what am I? I've got all these things I need to do. So the structure element is one thing I'm working so hard on, but a normal day, honestly, it can be anything, which I kind of like as well.
Do you freestyle sort of like with content creation? Do you have like a chart at home that kind of says these are the themes or these are the areas or this is what the Lord's speaking to me about? Or is it just as and go? I normally don't say pay as you go. I say pray as you go.
Pray as you go. Literally that. I randomly had a thing come into my head today that I wanted to do a video about like Christian clothing brands because I got sent a few like items from brands. I'm like, my wardrobe, they like caption was like, my wardrobe also needs saving or something like that. So yeah, just a random spurt of just like motivation. I need to do this now. And I've had, when I've tried to plan it out, I never stick to it because some days you just feel compelled that like I need to talk about, you know, like yesterday I just had a thought. It's like everyone keeps asking me about how do you date as a Christian. I don't know. I've never dated as a Christian. Like I've fled from any of that. So like, why not ask my community, like, how do you guys date within Christianity? And that was never planned. That was just a random thought that came to my mind. So yeah, it's very off the cuff. Like most of the time when you see a video, I probably just finished editing it and I just posted it. But I wish I was a bit more structured. I need to probably bring more structure into it for my own mental sake.
And again, you know, we talk about social media as a big topic here today, but just moving away from that, just talking about you as a person, which is, does it get stressful at times with the capacity? Obviously, I'm assuming it's a one-man band show, which is you're doing the editing, you got to do the travels, you got to do the conversation that goes behind it. So how much of that sort of has taken tolls on you, or has it not taken a toll or affect you? And how does the word come into it to kind of sustain you? And what are you doing to keep sustained?
Such a good question. Yes, the answer is I get burnt out. I get moments of, you know, feeling demotivated, feeling confused, feeling lost, questioning, is this the right idea? And, you know, in those moments, so recently I took like a week off, not planned. Like it wasn't like I have a week off. It was just, I felt so overwhelmed from the back doing different shoots and talks and content. I was just like, where am I going? I needed to have a rebrand. It felt like just start from scratch because it's not enjoyable. And the whole point, you're supposed to enjoy, like, God doesn't want you to feel sadness and, you know, fear and anxiety. He wants you to feel joy. So if this is not bringing joy to you, then you need to like have a think, is this what you want to be doing? It even related back to my church content because after I found the church and I went to other ones, I felt like I was just kind of being pulled away. I started to lose touch with not just my faith, but just my own mental clarity, that I was just not really enjoying doing this anymore. And I'm like, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to pretend. Like, I'm just going to go back to sort of stage one. And with those moments, luckily I've got a really good support structure around me, like whether that's my family, my friends, and they're also on their journeys. Like my dad goes to church now as well, and he started his faith walk.
Awesome.
That helps massively. From like one of my closest mate, he just constantly keeps saying, was it Matthew 6:23? Seek first the kingdom. Seek first the kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's just stuck in my head because it's like when you're having those moments, are you seeking the kingdom? Like whether that's you know, I'm in my 20s. I'm like, am I gonna get married? Like I don't know what's going on. Like I've seen it all my friends, and you're comparing yourself, but then it's like seek first the kingdom, bro.
Wow.
And I'm like, at first I was like, bro, stop telling me this, because it's like Christians will get, when you ask someone a problem, they're like, oh, just pray on it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just tell me how I fix it now. But it's like, no, you need to have those quiet moments with God. They're the moments you fix it. Me telling you how to do X, Y, Z is not gonna, I don't know. I'm just me. And he's like, seek first the kingdom. So again, like now my whole sort of strategy moving forward is, or it has, as it's always been, is just really be honest with what I'm up to. And like now I'm playing tennis. Yeah. I like to play a bit of tennis.
And it's so good just to kind of rest and relax. And I mean, even sports activities, just like tennis, you know, clearing the mind. And it's a way to also, when you're swinging the racket, and it's probably giving you, you know what, that comfort just to be, you know what, enjoying God's, you know, activity.
He wants you to enjoy. He don't want you to be fearful or stressing or, oh, I got this deadline, I need to edit this video. Like, you want to be in a flow state. And you know when you're in a flow state, because even a task which before you'd procrastinate on and worry about, you're charged to do. Like I had 45 minutes worth of tennis footage. I'm like, I can't wait to edit this. Like this is so much fun. Or when I had like my church, when I was going to church, it would be like 35 minutes. I need to get down to a minute.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't wait to like.
Yeah.
You enjoy his creation, and I'm a creative person, so I'm like, I get to glorify him through that.
And in essence, what you're doing is, you're bridging the gap of things which we all take for granted, and where God's using you to kind of link that with a way to minister to someone who's probably watching that, So I think in this day and age, which what you're doing is, really touching lives in a very unique and fresh way, and I think that's so good. Tell me about sort of my next question was really about in terms of the role and the time that you're spending as well, plus in terms of where you're going with social media. What does that look like for you over the next sort of course of your season? Do you see this as this is it now? I'm all in, and I can see myself growing this. Tell me about what's your vision behind this now?
I'm a very like all or nothing type of person. And with like the beauty of this is completely off the cuff, unscripted. So like every day I just take it as it is. I've been asked the question, like, what is the end goal or the goal? I don't even know myself. I genuinely take it each day as it comes. The beauty of like, I guess life, as an example, anything can happen along the way. What you deem to be what you think you're meant to do, God can just laugh at your plans and be like, you don't even understand what I've got in store. So with that has given me way more comfort, and I've really stopped overthinking things, because I used to be very goal driven. I need to get to X, whether that's a nominal number or a certain place or a location. But since I've just genuinely gave it to him, where it's like, I have to take stock sometimes and be like, wow, I have come. Look how far you have come. Look how far he's brought me. Did I ever expect to even get to here? No. Because if you asked me my goal before, it'd probably been way below this or way different. So with that question, it's genuinely just, I take every single day as it comes. When I wake up, I just look at what I got to do for that day. I don't look at tomorrow, because my favorite, tomorrow will worry about itself. So why worry about tomorrow?
Wow.
And I try and embody that. It's not easy at times, because you see all the comparisons and living on social media, but when you get back to it in your quiet time, it's like, no, just gratitude. I'm so thankful for everything that's happened already.
You recently started seeing this as well, which is you started doing Bible studies online and TikTok, and curating a lot of people of interest. What's been that like? Having some digital TikTok Bible studies, and my other, if you don't mind me asking this other spin-off question, what's been the number one sort of question from people that have been asking you to understand about Christianity?
Yeah, so first of all, the Bible study is just so random. I was just thinking, I struggle to read by myself, and what a better way to like do it with other people, because I have so many questions. Why not? And people in my comments will message me, they've been in church their whole life, some of them ministers. So I'm like, you guys can answer these for me. I don't have to annoy my pastor. So I was like, I went on live, and we've read all of Paul's letters, we've read Ruth, we've read Romans, Galatians, like we've done so
good.
And from that, I'm like, I would never been able to do this. And my knowledge from, or like the wisdom you get from speaking with others, it says you're supposed to read it with 2 or 3. And I've really felt that, and the community we've built, because it's not just me. These people invest time into it as well, and they're so helpful and friendly. And I think curating a space for people, not just in person, but online as well, is important, because I've got people from the United States, from Dublin, from the middle of Europe, like all over. And we all come together and just read the word, and then we end up with a little quiz at the end. Because in my eyes, I still want it to be fun. Like, learning is fun. Why can't Christianity be fun as well? And it doesn't have to be so serious, and it's like, everyone just read their book, and then you can interact with each other. And I think from that, I've learned so much. And it's just a nice space, which hopefully we're going to grow and, do more in-person things, but each step at a time. But the best question I've ever asked, or been asked, did you say?
Or the common theme, like what's the one that always keeps coming up?
Other than what church do I go to? That's like the main, is how's my dad finding it? I think that's one of like the most, even my dad said to me the other day, and he won't mind me saying this, he's not the most emotional person. He's definitely the older he's way more emotional and, you know, in touch with, you know, that element, which most dads aren't really like, or from my upbringing. And he's said to me, like, you don't understand how much you've done for me for even just inviting me to church. It's answered so many questions I've had. And for me, I can't stress how crazy that is, because that is so not him, what I thought was him. And seeing how God can move in my life, how naive can I not think it can move in his, you know, how hard my heart was and how guarded I was to the person I am now. It couldn't be more different. And that can happen to me. Of course, it can happen to my dad. So when people ask about him, like, it just makes me happy, because it's like, we're all on this journey together. Like, these journeys are always shared experiences. And I'm so glad I get to share it with, you know, my loved ones, but also other people who I may never have met, but it might have an impact on their life as well.
Would you ever see yourself as Pastor West?
Been asked that question. I don't know. I again, I take it day by day. I don't even know what is asked of me to do such a thing. So for now, I'm just West, and I'll always just be West.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Last but not least, and I think I'm going to move it towards the 7 quick fire questions.
Go ahead.
Sum up your faith in a few sentences. Like, you know, what does that mean to you right now in this present moment?
In just a few sentences, in a few words. Psalms 23, and if that whole passage, I feel like, is my life. In the darkest of valleys, he is with me. He'll prepare a table in front of my enemies. You know, you can be in the most uncomfortable positions, but that love, knowing that you're always the one he'll go after. He'll leave the 99 just for you. And I feel like my faith journey has been like that. In the times that he should have probably given up, or he should have just left me to be on my own devices, he saw there was something in me worth saving. And yeah, I feel like I'm just forever grateful for that, because I didn't know how lost I was until I actually found the love from Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a fantastic way to just talk about the faith. And I really believe that that's really going to hit home with someone, you know, listening today, because that's what it's about, right? It's the faith. It's really getting to know him. You know, it's magnifying Jesus in a way where all walks of life, wherever you come from, you know, I just had this with someone else as well, told me this, he will leave the 99 for that one, you know, and that's what makes it so special. Everyone's on a journey. And thank you again just for being so just transparent and just so open and honest, and really getting to know you as, you know, the man behind that 60-second clip, you know, and your journey. So if you're okay, let's switch this into the 7 quick fire rapid questions.
Go ahead, yeah.
You know, 7 comes from that, so you know, from the Bible trip number, it's completion. We're now coming to the end of the segment, and so if you're ready, it's just 7 questions for you, and just again, we'll go from there.
Go ahead.
Okay. So question number 1, favorite sports team?
Arsenal.
Most used emoji?
Probably these are prayer hands now. It used to be the laughing face, but I just send that to the end of everything.
Favorite takeaway?
Ooh. Japanese sushi.
One thing nobody knows about you?
I was on Football Manager. I might still be on it. I don't know.
If there's a Bible character that you can relate with, who would that be?
I want to say Peter.
Why?
Because I feel like I would be the one asking the question and God being like, this guy again. But like, his heart's in the right place, but he might cut someone's ear off.
Yeah.
But he might be like, I'm doing it for God. Like, yeah.
Typical lazy Sunday.
My Sunday's my busiest day because I'm at church all day.
Typical lazy Saturday.
Yeah. So other than church, Arsenal, and if there's F1 on, I'll try watch that. Yeah, proper cliche, I know.
If you could DM Jesus, what would that be?
Hey, when you coming back? When you pulling up?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Pull up.
Just make a TikTok together.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Like, I'll drop the idea. We could do a podcast or something.
Wes, it's been honestly an absolute pleasure. Fantastic.
Likewise.
For me, you come across someone which is, You were socially not there with God. Now you're socially blessing the people of God.
Yeah,
You know,
crazy.
so honestly, thank you so much for just joining us on this podcast. And I really believe that what you're doing is inspiring a new generation, you know, with a fresh lens on the gospel, on the faith being portrayed, and people just coming to really know about one man, which is Jesus, you know, in a very unique fashion and way. So I thank God for your life, you know, and the work that you're doing for this kingdom and this generation, more importantly. So honestly, it's an honor to have you and to grace us
Pleasure.
today with your knowledge, just being open and transparent. So long may that journey continue. And as you said, take each day as it comes. So I look forward to what tomorrow holds for you.
No, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me, bro.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Wes.
it. Thank you.